Tonight, All Progressives Congress resorts to the consensus option as it holds ward congresses across the country. Exercise are judged peaceful. Gunmen kidnap wife of Benue State Commissioner for Land and Survey, demand 51 million naira ransom. Resident doctors to embark on another round of industrial action with effect from Monday. Association accuses federal government of failure to fully implement agreements reached. And fighting rages around key cities in southern and western Afghanistan as Taliban militants push to seize them from government forces. The ruling All Progressives Congress has held its ward congresses to choose the new executive members that will manage the party's affairs at the ward level across the country. Although not all state chapters are in agreement regarding the mode of voting, with some seeking court injunctions to stop the exercise, today's congresses were largely conducted through the adoption of consensus candidates.
The All Progressives Congress APC holds its ward congress nationwide to choose party executives at that level. From Kano to Katsina and Jigawa states, all in the northwest region of the country. One noticeable feature of the Congress is that there appears to be a consensus arrangement.
We agreed on the principles of consensus throughout the 484 wards of Kano State. Ganduje ward, which is my ward, I'm happy to see that all the procedures has been followed. All necessary documents are available. All those who have been earmarked for consensus are around.
In the north-central states of Kwara and Niger, members of the party trooped out to partake in the poll, where again the consensus arrangement is the preferred option.
We are all members of the party, and we must make sacrifice. And the sacrifice is for us to bear whatever situation we find ourselves, you understand, so that from there we can start the next level, that is, start the next process. And the process is, we all have to agree and to make sure that if you don't have anything today, be less assured that tomorrow you'll be able to have another even better than what you have not done.
Similar experience played out in Oyo State, where the chairman of the party applauded the unity and support the APC enjoys in the state.
It's a replication of what is happening in the entire Oyo State. That is the clear demonstration in 192 wards. You can go around yourself and it speaks for itself. APC, this is a party of unity, party of love, party of happiness. That's why you are seeing a mini carnival in the name of Congress.
Meanwhile, in Lagos State, the leadership of the party expresses confidence in the machinery put in place to conduct the Congress in 245 areas in the state. The chairman, Ward Congress Committee in the state, adds that a window to resolve concerns by members has been created by the party.
If there are any grievances, the party has provided that. From the 2nd to the 7th of August, you can have the opportunity to now write an appeal for whatever you think is not done right. But our concern is for us to work together as party members and have a peaceful, heat-free conduct of our congresses in Lagos State.
Very satisfied.
Members of the party in Ogun and Ekiti states are not left out and equally participated in the poll. The governor of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun, and the chairman of the Congress in Ekiti State shed some light on the outcome of the exercise.
I'm very satisfied with the exercise. I have called around a few local governments. I understand that what has happened here is going on in other local governments, and the exercise has been thus very peaceful, very inclusive, and we didn't expect otherwise anyway. This is an APC state.
With the Congress over at the ward levels, the party now shifts its focus to the local government, where executive members will also be elected to run its affairs.
From politics to security matters, some gunmen who attempted to attack Njaba town in Imo State this morning ran into a brick wall as they were intercepted by men of Operation Restore Peace of the State Police Command. Giving details of the incident, the public relations officer of the command, Michael Abatam, explained that a gun battle with the bandits resulted in 2 of them being killed, with one of their operational vehicles destroyed while the others escaped. One AK-47 rifle was recovered from the vehicle with 10 rounds of live ammunition and a locally made double-barrel pistol with 2 expended cartridges. He said the recovered improvised explosive devices were safely disabled, while appealing to residents to provide the police with information on anyone seen treating bullet wounds or hiding within their communities. From Imo, we head to Benue State, where kidnappers of Mrs. Anne Oneje, who is the wife of the Commissioner for Lands and Survey in that state, are demanding 51 million naira as ransom. This was made known by the Benue State government, which says that efforts are being made to rescue her, as both conventional security and local vigilante groups have been dispatched to track down her whereabouts. Meanwhile, Governor Samuel Otom has reiterated the call on the federal government to clamp down on bandits and kidnap syndicates of armed herdsmen, just as it has been done with Nnamdi Kanu and Sunday Igboho.
We will team up together to solve the security problem that we have here. I've always said that the security problem here is created by the federal government. The day that they want the insecurity to finish, you see, it will end. I insist that it's federal government. They wanted to arrest Kanu. Did they not arrest him? They wanted to arrest Igboho. Where is he now? Is he not running away? Yeah. So if they want to end banditry and kidnappings and all that occasioned by Fulani people, it will be done. Why is the Fulani own exception? Why are they not arresting them? And they are everywhere, everybody knows where they are. So the day that the presidency and the federal government want insecurity to end in this country, it will end. That I can assure you. But for us in Benue State, with the establishment of the Benue State Community Volunteer Guard, they'll be everywhere, even where this industry is sited, they'll be there. So they will complement what the conventional security men are doing. So I believe that we'll be able to surmount all the security problems. We are working together with the security matters. Sometimes you don't just reveal them because you'll be exposing the victim. And so we are working together. Throughout yesterday night and throughout today, my security advisor is here. We're working with the conventional security and even some unconventional security are working with them. They will be released, I believe that very soon.
Still talking security, securing Nigeria's maritime domain remains a priority of the Nigerian Navy, and the Eastern and Central Commands have jointly performed a 3-day show of force in the territorial waters under their control in River State. The exercise is to kickstart a new security operation which will see the naval personnel carry out anti-sea pirate operations, fight oil theft, and conduct search and rescue operations.
In a show of force, Nigerian Navy warships sailed towards the territorial waters of the Eastern and Central Commands from One in River State. This signals the beginning of Operation Beni Kekere, which demonstrates the operational capability of the commands to provide maritime security in the Niger Delta region. It's also an opportunity to showcase Nigeria's commitment in the security arrangement in the Gulf of Guinea.
A total of 8 ships from the 2 commands, 2 helicopters, maritime domain awareness facilities and elements of the Nigerian Navy Special Boat Service will participate in the exercise, which will include anti-piracy operation, protection of oil facilities, and search and rescue operations, amongst others. Concurrently, the operations bases and naval security stations in the 2 commands will conduct clearance operations against criminal hideouts and illegal refineries in the backwaters in collaboration with Operations Delta Safe.
During the 3-day exercise, the troops are trained on weapon handling, and in this instance, they are faced with a real-life challenge to rescue members from a sinking ship. For the flag officer commanding Eastern Naval Command, the synergy signals a fresh hope for robust maritime business operations.
The criminals out there at sea, they do not respect defined sea boundaries. Several times, criminals in the pursuit of their crimes crisscross the boundaries or defined boundaries between the two commands. So the essence is for us to collaborate together such that wherever they are, whether they are within the Eastern or the Central Command, we will be able to get at them.
Beni Kekere, which means water protection in Ijaw language, aptly captures the primary responsibility of the Nigerian Navy and sets a new challenge for the Eastern and Central Commands to tackle insecurity challenges in the nation's waterways.
To other stories now. Just when it seemed that the labor dispute between the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors and the federal government had been resolved, a new chapter in the long-standing disagreement is about to be opened. This is because the national executive of the association has announced the commencement of an indefinite strike action starting from Monday, August the 2nd. The national president of NAD announced this to journalists at the end of its executive meeting in Oyo State, citing inability of the government to meet their demands. He said this time around, the strike is indefinite.
We're embarking on a total and indefinite strike on the 2nd of August 2021, based on the following reasons. Over 10 centers under the Gifted platform they have not been paid salaries for 3 to 6 months. We had issues with them being non-regular payment, and as part of the memorandum of action, it was said that they should be captured back into the APC platform. You are aware that we lost 19 members to COVID-19, and death in service insurance was supposed to be paid to their next of kin. As the last time we met with the Minister of Labour and Minister of Health, we were told that our members are part of those to be given the insurance benefits. But on a second recall and checking back, we found out that their names are not even there. Apart from one, no other one is there. You will recall that we said we had problems with the hazard allowance and they had to make improvement on it. We've had a series of meetings over 6 times, and up till now, nothing has been done about it.
In part 2, after the break, Governor Godwin Obaseki insists on probing the 200 million naira Benin stormwater project. Says initiative had failed to resolve flooding problem. We'll bring you details of that in a moment. Stay with us. Just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A reminder about top stories. All Progressive Congress resorts to the consensus option as it holds ward congresses across the country. Exercise adjudged peaceful. Gunmen kidnap wife of Benue State Commissioner for Land and Survey, demand 51 million naira ransom. Resident doctors to embark on another round of industrial action with effect from Monday. Association accuses federal government of failure to fully implement agreements reached. And fighting rages around key cities in southern and western Afghanistan as Taliban militants push to seize them from government forces. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has invited former President of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, for questioning over allegations of fraud. Sources told Channels Television that the former Oyo State governor was brought in about 2:30 p.m. today to answer questions over the handling of public funds, allegedly using a network of cronies and proxy companies. According to the source, the suspected proxies executed purported contracts for the Oyo State government under his administration and allegedly made returns to him for many years. The funds involved are said to run into hundreds of millions in naira and hundreds of thousands in foreign currency. It is, however, not clear if the former Senate President is still with the EFCC at the moment or has returned home. As Senate President between 2015 and 2019, Dr. Saraki spent a considerable time facing charges of corruption and false declaration of assets, but was eventually acquitted by the Supreme Court in June 2018. For the Oyo State governor, there is no going back on his decision to probe the $200 million Benin stormwater project initiated by the immediate past administration in the state. Governor Godwin Obaseki explained that the probe has become imperative because the project has failed to resolve the drainage problems which it was intended to fix. He made the comments after inspecting projects located on the New Lagos Road and other areas in the state capital.
They cannot complete the work without taking care of the drainage, because you know what, it's water that destroys roads. And if you recall that when we came here the last time, we had seen the major problem, that is the drain that was put in place under the rainstorm master plan was not designed to drain water, because you cannot, the discharge point was much higher than the level of the drain that they had constructed to discharge water. So that was what was causing the flooding in this whole area. In the meantime, they had spent almost $200 million, right? $200 million is what they spent under the guise of the rainstorm master plan, which you can see yourself did not drain the water. Neither did they build the roads. And you recall I said I was going to probe that contract, but I wanted to convince myself that it wasn't an issue of witch hunt, that I understood what really happened. And just coming here today to see yourself the remedial work that has been done and the extent of the work, even a blind man can see that whatever they contracted to do under the rainstorm master plan is not what has happened. And like I said, Edo people need to know, because it's a lot of money. And 10 years after, the project has not been completed.
Nigeria's drive for atomic energy development is getting a boost as the federal government says negotiations with a Russian firm called the Russian Atomic Energy Corporation, Rosatom, is already in an advanced stage to establish nuclear power plants and reactors in the country. The Director General of the Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission, Mr. Yusuf Ahmed, notes that an interministerial committee has already been set up by the government to finalize discussions on the terms of contract with the Russian government. Mr. Ahmed told journalists at a news conference in Abuja the reason for the visit of the Russian delegation to Nigeria.
Officials of the Russian Atomic Energy Corporation have been in Nigeria in the last 1 week, holding talks with the federal government on the development of nuclear energy and its peaceful application to grow the country's economy. This joint news conference by the Russian delegation and the Director General of the Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission is to update journalists on the outcomes of these meetings. Although Nigerian government says it is interested in the peaceful application of nuclear energy in every aspect of the economy, the electricity and agriculture sector are prioritized in these discussions.
Major aspect of our discussion is how can we use peaceful applications of nuclear science and technology for socio-economic development of Nigeria. And that aspect is what the multipurpose research reactor complex is envisaged to address. The second aspect is our own infrastructure in the power industry. Electricity grid is very important. We have discussed with Federal Ministry of Power what we intend to do and how we intend to do it so that they can now factor it into their own energy master plan, energy budgeting.
Rosatom is the largest producer of electricity in Russia, ensuring over 20% of the country's energy needs. The corporation includes over 400 enterprises and employs a total of 250,000 people. Rosatom is happy to be here and to further our developments with Nigeria, and we look forward to working with Nigeria to achieve their nuclear ambitions.
But Russia is not the only international partner who has shown interest in developing alternative energy sources to boost electricity supply in Nigeria. The United States of America, the Republic of China and Germany had at different times entered into agreements to develop the energy sector. The federal government has also spent over 1.5 trillion naira as intervention between 2017 and 2019 to boost electricity supply. But neither the interventions from the federal government nor the international partners have improved the situation. The government is, however, hopeful that the partnership with the Russian government will be a game changer as timelines are set.
So the nuclear power plants are the giant projects, which I think from now to maybe 10 years is a long timeline that we can be able to build those ones. But for the multipurpose research reactor, their timelines are shorter.
Nigeria has 23 power generating plants with installed capacity to generate 11,165 megawatts of electricity. In spite of this capacity, Nigeria's electricity supply still revolves around 4,000 and 5,000 megawatts, an inadequacy the government hopes to improve upon by this new partnership.
The World Meteorological Organization recently announced that water-related hazards topped the list of both the human and economic disasters over the last 50 years. The past few weeks corroborate this, with many countries, especially in Europe, Asia and North America, witnessing major floods for days. The extreme weather conditions highlight the need for more research on how it will affect us locally. Our next report looks at the trend and what needs to be done here in Nigeria to reduce the impact of floods.
Since July the 12th, 2021, several European countries have been affected by floods. Some catastrophic, causing death and widespread damage. Germany, with at least 177 deaths, says the floods are the deadliest natural disaster since the North Sea flood in 1962.
Sans aucun précédent.
While the Belgian government says it is one of the greatest natural disasters the country has ever known. These are a few of the extreme weather events this year that renew the focus of many around the world on the dangers of climate change. According to a new NASA study, coastal flooding is a far more urgent problem than previously thought. Cities along coast should expect a surge of flooding as soon as the next decade. This dramatic prediction pushes the previous deadline for disastrous coastal flooding forward by about 70 years.
When we look at the other factors causing sea level to change, we focused in on one in particular, so what we call the nodal cycle, associated with basically the orientation, the relation of the moon relative to Earth. And what happens is that there's this very long period signal, roughly 20 years, and this effect from the moon causes the tides to vary. So what we found is that this effect lines up with the underlying sea level rise, and it will cause flooding specifically in that time period from 2030 to 2040.
Nigeria is one of the countries on the danger list. Both the Nigeria Meteorological Agency and the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency released the seasonal rainfall pattern and the annual flood outlook.
And even the early warning we are doing providing impact-based, and not only to say that it will rain over Kaduna, but how much amount of rain will fall in Kaduna, and could that trigger any extreme event or flood, etc. So most of our focus are now shifting into impact-based.
But even with the yearly flood predictions, many still fall victim. 3 people lost their lives in Bauchi on Friday after a heavy downpour. while as many as 300 homes were damaged by severe flooding in Jalingo, the Taraba state capital in northeastern Nigeria, after heavy rain on July the 9th.
Lagos, see water.
And a heavy downpour on July the 16th swamped roads in Lagos, the country's commercial capital.
There's no free flow of water. As you can see, starting from this Otumba Street, Ballet Street, Mama's Bar Street, you go to Top 10. Everywhere is flooded. So there's no where water can go.
Heavy seasonal rains are a regular feature of life in Nigeria, and towns close to the country's main rivers are particularly vulnerable. Scientists had long predicted extreme weathers are likely, but many are surprised by so many happening so fast.
As such, it is crucial for the Ministry of Water Resources to also work with relevant stakeholders to desilt water bodies and release water from dams intermittently before the rainy season hits heavily.
Cities across Nigeria are not only affected by the floods because of rising sea level and runoff from rivers, but also because drainage systems are in disrepair and often clogged with debris with poor urban planning. And if the impact of flooding is to be reduced, apart from resolving these issues, a greater cooperation with Nigeria's neighbors in the control of river levels will need to be achieved.
Let's talk infrastructure in Rivers State. The Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, continues its interventions in Niger Delta communities by working with state and local governments to implement projects. Its latest effort is the flag-off of the construction of an international bushmeat market and car park in Omagwa, which is near the Port Harcourt International Airport in Rivers State, by the interim administrator. The NDCC is working with the Ikwere local government area to implement these projects.
It's been months of implementing developmental projects in Rivers State. Taking a cue from the state government, the NDDC is embarking on an intervention in communities of the Niger Delta region to ensure development at the grassroots. This delegation from the Ikwere Local Government Council is on a courtesy visit to the Commission to discuss the latest project in the works, the construction of an international bush market and a car park in Omagwa.
This project is not only going to benefit the people of River State, it's going to benefit the entire Niger Deltans, every person that will use this road freely. And then it's also going to create employment opportunity for persons and then build a long-lasting legacy for the people at the third-tier level.
Just as promised, residents at Ikwere Local Government Council are excited to receive officials from the NDDC who have come to flag off the projects. The interim NDDC administrator commends the Rivers State government for the projects executed so far, adding that the NDDC will support funding for the market projects to ensure its completion on schedule.
If you can see, this road traverses, this is the road that links to Imo and other parts of the Niger Delta and other parts of Nigeria. During market days, these roads are often choked up. And so he came up with this idea to draw away men from the road, draw away women from the road. So he has people, he's a people-oriented chairman, because he's thinking of the life of his people. And therefore, NDDC has no choice but to key into this development project.
For the chairman of the Ikwere Local Government, the projects will be delivered in good time.
But we thank you for not just speaking the word, but bringing this word into action. You said you will do it, and you're here today to do it. God Almighty will give you the strength to complete it in 40 days, like you have said.
In line with its core mandates to develop the oil-rich Niger Delta region, this gesture by the NDDC is expected to boost economic activities in the region.
When the news at 10 returns, aftermath of central bank's decision on bureau de change, analysts believe a lasting solution lies in increasing forex supply. And that's on Business News. Join us again. Welcome back. Approximately 70% of Nigeria's population engages in agricultural production at a subsistence level, regardless of the importance of oil exports. Agriculture remains a key part of the Nigerian economy, employing 36.5% of the entire labor force, making it a major source of livelihood for most of the population. Now, despite this feat, poor infrastructure, lack of storage facilities, farm inputs, and most recently insecurity, which resulted in hike in food prices, is threatening food security. Our next report looks at food security in the country amidst these factors affecting its development.
It's another farming season, and 60-year-old Sandu Kaka in Gwe East local government area of Benue State is already taking steps to ensure a bountiful harvest, hoping to feed his family of 60 persons and make some extra money from the proceeds of his yam farm. But he has fears. He recounts how he fled his previous settlement after an attack by suspected herdsmen.
Last year, this time I don't eat my farm, but this year I no fit do them well as I do before. So I want government make a look about it and come and help, whether if it bring us security or anything like seed, they will come and do it for us.
According to the Food and Agricultural Organization, 88% of Nigerian farmers considered small family farms. In spite of their importance for the domestic economy and owing to the sector's productivity limitations, more than 72% of Nigeria's smallholder farmers live below the poverty line. Jigawa State, for instance, is an agrarian state with over 80% of its population engaged in subsistence agriculture. Millet is one of the crops that is cultivated in most parts of the state during the rainy season. Mr. Sani Inuwa is a subsistence farmer in Madobi village, Dutse local government area of Jigawa State.
Noma kan duk mutumin da zai yi shi, inda Allah ya wuce gaba zai tsira da mutuncin kansa. Kuma tun iyaye da kakanni ne. Kuma ina tunanin duk mutumin da zai yi noma ya sana'a, sha Allah zai ga ƙarshen kyakkyawan ƙarshe. Ni ina so kawai a ci a iyalai, Allah sa masa albarka.
To ma'ana kenan baka kaiwa kasuwa.
Gaskiya ba na kaiwa kasuwa.
The story of lack of access road, poor storage facility and linkages to markets continue to also serve as a setback to the nation's quest for food security. Tomato farmers in Kano are also worried about the situation.
Farmers have problem of insecurity. You see that there will be low production of these crops because there is the fear that if you go to your farm, you don't know what will happen.
In Oyo State, where palm oil production is a thriving enterprise, farmers bear their minds on some of the challenges they experience. The same sentiment is shared by farmers in southwest Nigeria, as cassava farmers in Ogun State seek an alternative.
I've lost about 16 million on this herdsman problem. I did 5 hectares. 5 hectares. Out of 5 hectares, they ate about 4.5 hectares.
Ebonyi State is known for its giant stride in the production of rice over the years, but processors continue to suffer lack of infrastructure to sell the products.
We suffer for work too much because of lane. When we put them for some small time, lane don't come and carry in. And so with the suffer, you see how they blow light, when they feel blind or due to sun no day.
According to statistics from the All Farmers Association, post-harvest loss in Nigeria stands at between 40 to 45%.
Our farmers.
This is a concern for the president of the association, Mr. Kabiru Ibrahim, especially as it impacts on the cost of food in the market.
Our farmers cannot access their farms, and since they cannot access their farms, they cannot produce. Therefore, productivity is affected. And that's why we have this scarcity and the skyrocketing price of food items.
According to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, at least 9.2 million people in Nigeria are facing worse levels of food insecurity. Most of them are from the northeast region, where the military have been battling insurgency in the last 12 years. For experts, the situation requires drastic action.
The nexus of rural infrastructure is very key in the form of serving as a backbone to agriculture for the attainment of national food security.
Provision of fertilizer is another area of concern for farmers across the country. The president set up the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative to address the challenge, and that is yielding some dividends, according to the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority, one of the managers of the initiative. The rising level of insecurity in the country has indeed taken a toll on all sectors of the economy, and farmers appear to be bearing the brunt. Perhaps deliberate policies that target insecurity encountered by farmers could encourage more farmers to return to their farms. This is in addition to making available to all farmers the necessary inputs and appropriate policies implemented to ensure increase in the nation's food production and security.
Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State is promising to stick to his policy of inclusiveness in government activities as his administration continues to deploy resources for the growth and development of the state. He restated this at a stakeholders consultative meeting on the 2022 budget held at the International Conference Center, University of Ibadan, where he calls on residents to continue to participate actively in the budget-making process so their needs can be factored in. Our correspondent, Bukola Oriwo, has this report.
It's a gathering of leaders of thought, policymakers, traditional leaders, and others to deliberate on the future of Oyo State as affected by budget formulation and implementation. Last year, similar consultative meetings were held in the 7 zones to ensure everyone is on the same page. Governor Seyi Makinde highlights some results attributed to previous engagements, including the completion of 500 projects in the education sector and construction of the Oyo State Federal Road. He promises to deploy more resources for the growth and development of the state.
We will continue to deploy the resources of Oyo State for growth and development of our state. We have always stated that this government is your government. It is what you say we should do that we will do. Our job here is to give the needed direction and ensure the implementation of these things that you ask for.
State players laud Governor Makinde for bringing inclusiveness, sustainability and equality to the budgeting process.
When resources are scarce, we try to do a scale of preference in which your priorities are listed, and as a result of that, we now make a choice among those set of priorities. And when you are making those choices, there will be alternative forgone.
As representatives make their demands, the Oyo State government gives assurance that it will not relent in its quest to enhance the quality of life for residents.
Time now to get the latest in the world of business, and Teniola Shobowale is standing by.
Thanks a lot, Melinda. Welcome to Business News. Well, reactions are still trading the decision of the Central Bank of Nigeria banning the supply of forex to bureau de change operators at the end of its July monetary policy meeting. While with some analysts recalling a similar occurrence in 2016, they believe that a more lasting solution for the forex market would be to ensure adequate supply. Our correspondent, Ini John Mekwa, reports.
The central bank will henceforth discontinue the sale of foreign exchange to bureau de change operators.
This can be described as one in a million announcement that roiled the financial markets this week. For the central bank, this move became necessary following what it described as unscrupulous activities by the bureau de change operators. Following the advent of COVID-19 and its unintended effect on global oil prices, Nigeria's external reserves saw a heavy decline, with many foreign investors withdrawing their funds. This created a huge liquidity problem in the FX market.
You are not only talking about accessibility, you are even talking about cost. You know, the product that we cost at 360 naira for $1, we have to pay back now at 520 naira. You know, for $1. That is even if you get it.
Considering the weighty allegations against the BDCs, Channels Television reached out to the association executive, but they would neither pick nor return the calls. However, we went into the streets in Lagos to find out. These individuals operating on the streets are not necessarily licensed operators. While they're reluctant to talk to us on camera, we did find out that most of them carry out their activities under one BDC licensed operator.
Okay, so that means the bureau de change will go to the bank. Then from the bank, they can still operate.
Those who are traveling?
Yes, can go to the bank to collect that PTA or BTA. Okay.
In this circular released by the central bank to promoters of BDCs and all deposit money banks, the regulator is refunding BDCs with pending license applications their minimum capital deposit of 35 million naira and licensing fees. The Apex Bank also directed deposit money banks to set up a designated desk to serve FX customers.
The very problem that we accuse the BDs of will now be translated now to the banks. Those problems will still continue to manifest. Those who are on that desk, they are not angels, they are human beings. And for as long as you have these opportunities, those abuses will still continue.
For many, the permanent solution to this challenge is liberalizing the market in order to attract foreign investors and increase forex supply.
They had to put the appropriate structures in place to encourage or to stimulate Nigerians exporting more goods or producing more of the goods that are currently imported, so that we can better have a stronger international balance of payment or international trade position.
We need to liberalize the rate at which people can bring in their supply. If you are imposing a rate of 410 on the export process, on foreign direct investors, on the embassies, on the oil companies, you are discouraging them from bringing in the foreign exchange into the economy.
For now, the problem in the FX market remains until the central bank finds a lasting solution to the liquidity challenge. In the coming weeks, market watchers forecast that the decision by the CBN will lead to a depreciation of the naira. However, for the week ended July 30th, the value of transactions in the I&E market was up over 80% to $590.34 million. The NAFIT went up slightly, 0.02% to 411 naira 18 kobo for a dollar, while the BDC rate ended lower, 2.40% at 512 naira for a dollar. Ini John Mekwa, Channels Television News.
In response to the central bank's directive, deposit money banks have informed customers that dedicated teller points have been set up for forex transactions. The banks, in their message, promised to treat foreign exchange requests speedily. Meanwhile, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has asked commercial banks to comply strictly with the central bank's directive on the sale of foreign exchange to eligible customers and not to hoard forex. MAN further appeals to the CBN to give prompt response to bank customers with complaints regarding access to forex through its toll-free lines. And now to the equities market, where sentiments turned bearish as profit-taking activities dominated market performance throughout the week. Specifically, the local bourse recorded losses in 3 of the 5 trading sessions. Profit-taking in Boa Cement, GT Holdings and Zenith Bank drove the weekly loss as the all-share index shed 0.3% to close at 38,547.08 points. Accordingly, the month-to-date gain moderated to 1.7%, while the year-to-date loss increased to 4.3 Activity levels were stronger than the prior week as trading volume and value rose significantly by 53.8% and 125.8% each week on week. Sectoral performance was mostly negative following declines in the industrial goods, insurance and banking indexes, while oil and gas and consumer goods indexes recorded gains. The trio of Transnational Corporation of Nigeria, Owando and Fidelity Bank were the three top traded stocks for the week. Owando topped the list of stocks with the highest rise in share price, while Linkage Assurance led the losers charge. And that's business news tonight. It's back to Melinda for the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Teniola. And for the latest in the world of sports, especially regarding the Olympics, here is Kayode Alayode.
Thanks, Melinda. Welcome to Sports News. Nigeria's Tobi Amusha has qualified for the semi-finals of the women's 100 meters hurdle with a dominant race in Heat 3. Amusha finished with a time of 12.72 seconds ahead of Jamaica's Yannick Thompson, who finished second in 12.74 seconds. And after snatching a gold medal in the men's 400 meters freestyle, Tunisian swimmer Ahmed Hafnoui has returned home to a hero's welcome from family and friends. The 18-year-old champion stunned swimming superpowers with his victory, including American medal machine Michael Phelps, who described his performance as an unbelievable swim. Hafnoui was the slowest qualifier, but from a lane 8 held off fancied Australian Jack McLoughlin and American Kieran Smith for a huge upset. He is the youngest Tunisian athlete to qualify for the Olympics. That will be all on Sports News. Thank you for watching. Back to you, Melinda.
Many thanks, Kayode. Now, news just in says the former Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, has returned home, and he went to the EFCC after receiving an invitation from the Commission. He was asked to appear before the Commission for questioning over allegations of fraud. You can get details of that story and others on our website, channelstv.com. On the international scene, fighting is raging around 3 major cities in southern and western Afghanistan as Taliban militants seek to seize them from government forces. Taliban fighters have made rapid gains in rural areas since it was announced that almost all foreign troops would go by September. But the fate of these cities could be crucial amid fears of aid crisis and how long government forces will be able to hold out. The fundamentalist Islamist militia is already thought to have captured up to half of all Afghanistan's territory, including lucrative border crossings with Iran and Pakistan. Provinces across China have imposed tougher restrictions in an effort to contain the country's worst coronavirus outbreak in months, with health officials attributing the surge in COVID-19 infections to the highly contagious Delta variant. Authorities reported 328 symptomatic infections in July, and that's almost equal to the total number of local cases from February to June. Here's more on this and other developments around the world in our COVID-19 Global Update.
Nanjing City is currently facing an outbreak of the COVID-19 Delta variant that surfaced earlier this month, traced to airport cleaners who worked on a flight from Russia. The virus has since spread to 5 provinces in Beijing, with state media calling it the most extensive contagion after Wuhan. All flights from Nanjing Airport have been suspended until August the 11th. Elsewhere in Asia, a Thai hospital morgue overwhelmed by COVID-19 deaths has begun storing bodies in refrigerated containers as the country grapples with its biggest coronavirus outbreak. Officials say hospitals in Bangkok and the surrounding provinces are running out of capacity due to the surge in infections. Over the past 24 hours, the country reported a daily record of 18,912 new cases and a record of 178 new deaths. Also battling a surge in cases driven by the Delta variant, Pakistan's largest city, Karachi, has enforced a week-long partial lockdown. And in Australia, millions more in the country are now in lockdown as a highly contagious Delta variant continues to spread. Authorities have imposed a snap 3-day lockdown in southeastern parts of Queensland, including Australia's third largest city, Brisbane. It's the latest part of the country to reimpose restrictions in a bid to cut COVID-19 infections. And finally, a shipment of 410,000 COVID-19 vaccine doses donated by Britain has arrived in Kenya.
This is the first of 2 deliveries we'll be making. This is the bilateral donation, and we're also sending some through the COVAX system, of which we're great supporters. So we'll be sending 817,000 doses, hopefully in the next week or so.
Britain, which has fully vaccinated 72% of its adults, is sending 9 million Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines overseas in a first batch of donations to Indonesia, Jamaica and Kenya.
And the main news again. The All Progressives Congress today resorted to the consensus option as it held ward congresses across the country. The exercise was adjudged peaceful. Also today, government kidnapped the wife of the Benue State Commissioner for Land and Survey and demanded a 51 million naira ransom. And there was fighting around key cities in southern and western Afghanistan today as Taliban militants pushed to seize them from government forces. That's the news at 10 tonight. I'm Melinda Kilami on behalf of the team. Good night.